The rain had been threatening all day, hanging over London like a restless promise. Sophie Kensington had spent the afternoon tucked away in a cozy cafe just off Covent Garden, where the scent of roasted coffee beans mixed with the distant hum of street performers. She had been trying to write the final chapters of her novel, but her mind had been elsewhere, caught between reality and the romance she was trying to put on paper. By the time she stepped outside, the drizzle had turned into a steady shower. She sighed, pulling out her umbrella, only for the wind to immediately flip it inside out. "Oh, for heaven's sake," she muttered under her breath, shaking the useless thing in frustration. A deep chuckle came from behind her. "British weather never fails to make a fool of us, does it?" She turned around, blinking up at the man who had spoken. He was tall, dark-haired, and wore a navy blue coat, with a black umbrella effortlessly shielding him from the rain. His warm brown eyes twinkled with amusement as he took in her struggling umbrella. "It really doesn't," she admitted, laughing despite herself. "Here," he said, stepping closer. "I'd offer to fix it, but I think it's beyond saving." Sophie glanced down at the mess in her hands and sighed. "It's definitely a lost cause." He tilted his head toward his umbrella, raising an eyebrow. "Shall we?" She hesitated. It was the kind of moment that only happened in novels, the sort of encounter that seemed too good to be true. But as another gust of wind sent a shiver down her spine, she decided to take a chance. "I'm Sophie," she said, stepping under his umbrella. "James," he replied, offering a smile. They walked together through the rain-soaked streets, their steps unhurried as they talked. Sophie learned that James was an architect, originally from Edinburgh but now settled in London. He had a dry sense of humor and a way of making even the smallest things sound interesting. "You really think Street Paul's is overrated?" she asked, playfully offended. He grinned. "I do. Don't get me wrong, it's stunning, but there's something about the smaller, hidden gems of London that I love more. Like Street Dunstan in the East, have you been?" She shook her head. "No, but now I have to." "You should. It's the kind of place that feels like it belongs in a fairy tale. Overgrown ruins, quiet, peaceful, perfect for a writer, I'd imagine." Sophie smiled. "You might be right." By the time they reached Sophie's flat, the rain had softened into a misty drizzle, but neither of them wanted the evening to end. "Fancy a cup of tea?" she asked, her heart pounding. James hesitated for only a second before nodding. "I thought you'd never ask." Inside, Sophie lit a few candles to chase away the gloom of the rain. She put the kettle on, and James wandered over to her bookshelf, running his fingers along the spines. "You have great taste," he mused. Jane Austen, Murakami, a whole section dedicated to poetry. He picked up a well-worn copy of Pride and Prejudice. "A classic." Sophie smirked. "Please don't tell me you think Mr. Darcy is overrated too." James chuckled. "No, I think he's just misunderstood." As the tea steeped, their conversation drifted through books, travel, and childhood stories. James told her about growing up in Scotland, the summers he spent exploring the Highlands. Sophie shared her dream of finishing her novel, though she admitted she often doubted herself. "You should finish it," James said firmly. "The world always needs more good stories." Something about the way he said it made her believe she could. The rain began again outside, tapping against the windows in a soothing rhythm. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Eventually, James checked his watch and sighed. "I should probably go before the rain traps me here for the night." Sophie hesitated, then smiled. "Would that be such a bad thing?" He studied her for a moment, then shook his head with a soft laugh. "No, I don't think it would." As he stood by the door, he turned back to her. "Would you like to get lost in London with me sometime? Maybe visit Street Dunstan in the East?" Sophie felt warmth spread through her chest. "I'd love that." James grinned. "Good. It's a date then." As he stepped out into the night, umbrella in hand, Sophie watched him go, a quiet thrill running through her. Maybe, just maybe, the best love stories weren't just found in books. Sometimes, they started on a rainy London evening, with a broken umbrella and a stranger who felt like something more.